Welcome to ETS Primecast, a webinar series bringing together customers, industry leaders, and trusted partners.
Good morning, all. Hope it's good Monday morning to everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to our PopRush ETS webinar session. Thank you for taking the time out in your session to join us today. For those that are joining the session and have previously joined our ETS sessions, welcome back. And to our newcomers, welcome to some exciting times. My name is Greg Perumal. I'm the executive of PopRush. And in today's session, you'll hear me taking you through this journey that ETS PopRush have embarked on. And in the session, we'll be covering one of our products there. So before I discuss the offerings in today's session, I'd just like to share a video slide that will give everyone an understanding of what the product concept and context is about. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm hoping that everyone can see my screen at the moment. So basically, PopRush is a ICT company that has a product stack under called Pop365. ETS has ventured into a reseller process with PopRush. And in that process, we've partnered with ProTech Group, which has multiple pillars within it. And PopRush Consulting is one of the company's entities within the stack. The CEO from ETS, which is Dennis Naidu, some of you might be familiar with, has taken the lead and the reins on PopRush as a company. And with his guidance, we are looking at building this pillar into a service offering to our various clients. Now, with this product, Pop365, you will notice in today's session that it's a PowerBoard, it's a OfficeBoard, and it brings value to your Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 environment. Now, what is it as an overview? It's an analytical tool. So it allows you to see what is the product, what are your various Microsoft product stacks used for in your environment? How are you utilizing them? And what are your following best practice? When we mention the name Pop365, this is what we have branded the product as within PopRush. Within Pop365, we have two environments, one called a PowerBoard and one called an OfficeBoard. And I'll let the slide play through so you can relate to it. So PowerBoard focuses on anything related to your Azure environment, all your servers, your infrastructure, how your cloud environments are running from a licensing perspective. And I'm just going to stay there. And basically it monitors your optimization and your governance. Your OfficeBoard, which is the next slide, is more related to how you utilizing the Microsoft licenses within that space. And are you getting the best value out of the Microsoft environment? It's basically an analytical, statistical tool from these two levels, which is your Azure and from your 365 environment. Now, why would businesses need this? We all know that Microsoft it's used internationally. Companies are looking at alternatives to Microsoft, but that being said, Microsoft always have a part in businesses throughout the stack. So whether the clients are running AWS, you'll find that they're still running Microsoft in the environment. So we are looking at the Microsoft environment from a Pop365 solution perspective. And what we are doing is we are analyzing that data from Microsoft tenants, we're extracting it, and we're letting you see that information as an easy to read environment. So a CEO or CIO can now log into the system, see the data, and can view it from an analytical perspective, which makes it a lot easier to understand what's the consumption like. Are the IT teams managing the environments correctly? So this is why ETS has looked at making this one of its flagship products under the PopRush banner. As we all know, Dennis Naidu, as the CEO for ETS, has always looked at products that are cutting edge. And in doing so in ETS, we've identified this as one of the solutions, and we are penetrating the market to offer value to clients. So in today's session, we'll find that you're looking at optimization of spend. How is your budget being allocated? Now, these are key things that are important to businesses. In what regard? We all understand budget, right? So whenever we start environments, cloud is becoming or has become the next generation of how we spin up environments. So the traditional method was CapEx. We outlaid millions for infrastructure. Go back a second. And in doing so, your CapEx was extensively high. Now, when we're moving to the OpEx environment, it makes it a bit easier on the cash flow on businesses, especially enterprise environments. But if the OpEx side is not managed, now you become a victim of that. So spinning up servers, if you spin up a UAT environment and you forget and leave it running for a month or two, Microsoft or any environments, they're quite happy to let that run because you are paying for that spin up. Or if you purchase Microsoft licenses, they will gladly sell you more licenses because they want you to be on the platform of theirs. So what this is allowing you to do in this tool is allowing you to visualize, like in this view, what licenses do you have in your Microsoft environment? How are they being allocated to users? Are they being utilized optimally? Example, if you've got a boardroom and you don't need the full Office suite, you just need Teams. Do you have the right license for Teams? And looking at your trend analysis, that's how you will monitor. You've got 100 boardrooms all over the country, but maybe they're running an enterprise license or business standard, for example. So in today's session, what we'll be covering is what are the functionalities in Pop365, what is OfficeBoard, what is PowerBoard, and in this presentation, you will see that my colleague Albert Anthony, who's on the session, he's the OEM of the product. He'll be taking us on a journey, visually showing you the actual application layer. So before I hand over to him, I welcome anyone in the session to use the chat, post any inquiries, any questions and answers that you'd like us to address at the end of the session, and then post Albert's presentation. We'll address these questions. And if we can't get back to you immediately, we'll then revert. In the chat, I'll also post the email address that you can contact us on. You're welcome to contact us on our ETS address, but in this case, it'll be ets@poprush.co.za, or alternatively, greg@poprush.co.za. I will post that in the chat as well. But our team from our marketing team will be engaging you further with any detail. So before we continue with the demo, I'd just like to kindly request that when any interest is shown in the application, if you would like to understand what the solution is all about and how can you visually see this information with your data, please reach out to us in the chat and we'll arrange a POC at your convenience. And basically in that session, we will plug into your data, extract it, and run it with your environment's data. So it's not an aggressive, lengthy process to implement a solution like this. Or alternatively, we could analyze your data and give you the reporting that you need. So it's about managed service or a self-managed environment that Pop365 will offer you. So without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to Albert. I'll be taking my camera off and just monitoring the chats for any question. In Albert's presentation, you'll notice that he'll take you through the login journey. Before he does so, I just like people in the platform to relate to budget. We all become victims of budget. So we plan to spend X amount for the year in business. And what happens with that budget? We look at it at the end of the year and we say, are we spending the right amount in the right places? But we've already done the spend. So what do most businesses do in the future? They start to plan ahead and they budget a bit more rather than optimizing. So I'm going to hand over to Albert now and he'll take us through the journey. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, Greg. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming in for this session. So as Greg mentioned, what we are going to do, we are going to walk through two products that he mentioned. The PowerBoard is a Azure management platform, and OfficeBoard is a Microsoft 365 management platform. At a very high level, we cover 3 use cases for each of these tools. So one is a cost management. So in Azure, it is Azure cost management, which includes everything related to cost. How much money, Azure is spending for your organization, where they are spending, who is spending, are there any savings, what are the savings, so we go deep into cost management for Azure. Then there is security. How is my security score looking? Are there any security recommendations? Are there any vulnerabilities? We give data for everything. So for your resource groups, for your locations, for your resource groups, resources, everything. And third is governance. So am I running my Azure as per Microsoft Azure's best practices? Do I have tagging in place? Do I have recommendations that I need to address? Are there any resources running that I need to be aware of which are not being utilized? Or if I am based in South Africa, am I running some resources in Australia, right? So all the compliance related issues. Similarly, we follow these 3 use cases for OfficeBoard as well, right? So I'm going to walk you through. If you have any questions, please put that on the chat window. Either I will answer it or Greg is going to answer it. Before we start, I'll quickly explain how exactly this thing works. So what we do is we create an application in your Azure tenant, and then we fetch data from your Azure tenant through some APIs. So this is your data. We massage it, we analyze it, and we give you data that is more actionable. So one of the questions that we get is like, you are giving us all the data that is available in Azure, and why we should buy this software. And the answer to that is, and that is true for all the cloud management platforms that are available in the market. Cloud management platform kind of works as an accessory to your entire stakeholders. So for your Azure administrator, for your CISO office, for your CFO office. So for example, a CFO would not be necessarily trying to find his way in Azure to find out how much money they can save every month, how they can save money every month, and similarly for an executive as well. So this kind of works as another layer for all these stakeholders for managing their role, whatever they need to do for Azure. So for example, if there is a project manager and they want to see how much money every project is spending on, what are the problems that I need to find, what are the recommendations, how many resources are not being tagged, they can simply look at this data that we provide. And similarly for cost, the CFO office can actually look into the data that we provide. How we do that? We take read-only permission. So the software cannot write anything. It takes a read-only permission. Both software, it takes read-only permission. We refresh data once every 24 hours, right? And all the data that we fetch is from Microsoft. So there is no other data source that we are kind of, fetching data from. So this is Microsoft Azure's API that we are calling, and it gives us data for your tenant. Okay. So like you see here, this is a dashboard, and this is where we give you all the information related to your tenant. And the whole idea is that we make it easy to understand, easy to get the information. So all the data that you see for both the product, you can download it, and it is downloadable in the spreadsheet format. So Excel, you can download it and you can share it anywhere you want. The other product is integrated with Microsoft Teams. So if you are, on Microsoft Team, and then you want to share some data with your team members, with your client, in terms of if you're managing more than one customer, you can simply share it using the inbuilt functionality. Okay. This is another high-level snapshot that we give. So on the left, you can see all the data that you want for your tenant, okay, including the cost. Most of the time, it is about cost. And Greg did show a slide where it says that it is like 13%, cost saving that we achieved. And most of the time, you would see that it is close to 30%, 30% of the cost that is available, cost saving that is available as soon as we plug, this software into your Azure tenant. Now, a very important thing that Greg did mention. So I am showing you, what I'm showing you is a demo site. It is a demo data, right? And the best way to test this software is plug into your tenant, and then we run it for like a couple of weeks. And then we do this session again with your stakeholders, with your data, and we show that, look, this is what the data looks like. This is the money you can save, for example, right here. And this is how you can save that money. Okay. And most of the time it is, 15% to, sometimes 30% as well, of your annual cost, which is a lot of money. So in terms of, the ROI, the software actually pays for itself in first month itself, both the software. Okay. So very, very important thing on how to go about it. So the next step, as Greg mentioned, would be, if you're interested in the software, contact us, and then, we put you on the trial run, a POC run, and in a couple of weeks, we show you the data, your data in the software, right? And that simply makes the decision really straightforward. Okay, so like I did mention about the governance, right? And I did say that usually an executive would not have visibility on where resources are running, right? And this is something that we kind of help with the help of this PowerBoard. That, look, you have got some resources running in USA, you've got some resources running in London region, you've got some resources running in South Africa, and you can find out just by looking at it that my company is based in South Africa. Why are my resources running in USA, or why am I running in France, right? And that could be something that could be an oversight, could be a person doing it intentionally, could be multiple reasons, right? But this is how it kind of helps in the governance. If you have any question, just ping, okay? Please do ping.
Albert, excuse me for interrupting. I just want to bring people's attention to, so this workspace that Albert's currently on is called PowerBoard. And this environment is looking at your physical infrastructure layer. So your Microsoft Azure tenant, it's plugging in, extracting that data. And in that process, it's performing what we would relate to in the IT industry as ITAM, which is your IT asset management. So traditionally, you'd have physical hardware and kept sitting in your office, and you'd do an asset count. You'd know what sits where and who's connecting to what port, etc., etc. When you're in your cloud environment, Azure has this information. Everything that we show you right now, you can get it in Azure, but Microsoft shows it to you in physical boxes and physical screens. Whereas in the platform, we've rendered it in a more analytical way that makes it easier to understand. In the PowerBoard, again, I'm saying it's the physical infrastructure environment. And when he goes into the journey on the OfficeBoard, he'll explain the license inside.
So like I mentioned, that we can get the cost analysis down at a resource level. So I'm sure most of you must be aware of FinOps, and some of you must have already implemented FinOps at your organization, and some must be doing it. And then, of course, now we are in the AI era, so you also need to know about tokens, right? How much token usage you have. And we can get it down, if you see here, the breakdown by resource type. by meter. So like I mentioned, that how much any LLM, any AI engine is spending, you can do that. By cost by year, cost by location as well, right? And let's say if you want to do it by people, we can give a report, that Albert has spent this much money in last 5 months, or use this much tokens in last 5 months. We can actually pull that report as well. Like I said, that we fetch your data through the API exposed by Microsoft, so we do have access to that data, that granular data, if you want that. Similarly, there is a cost distribution. Like I mentioned, that you can get information based on tags as well. Now, tags, essentially, this is how you identify a resource. So you can say that this is project, Venus, or project Azure, whatever project that you have, you are going to tag all the resources based on that. And a good governance is where all your resources are tagged, and there should be multiple tags per resource. Who owns the resource in terms of a person? What is the project? When it was commissioned? How long it is going to be, active, and when it should be decommissioned. All of these, should be your tags, right? Very, very important stuff. So we've got one full module based on tags, and unfortunately, we see that most of the customers that we work with, they have like less than 30% of the resources tagged, and of course, there is a little visibility on where the money is being spent. And this is where we have seen organizations even spending like $60,000 per month. They also have like in terms of tagging hygiene, they are like less than 20%, sometimes less than 30%. So yes, there is a lot of data for cost, for resources, just to ensure that if there is an anomaly, we can actually find those anomalies. So somebody has created a resource and it is generating too much of a cost for your organization, we can actually find that out as well, and we can build alerts also in that if that is required, right? Then what we also do is, like, you have these costs report. So we automatically upload all the cost report every month. So like, on the first of the month, when Azure generates those reports, we fetch it and then we upload it for you. So if you have any tool that you want to work with, like your in-house tool, you can download this data, simply feed that into your your finance department's tool, or you have a project manager who want to do some sort of analysis. You can do all of these things, and it does get updated every month. Similarly, I did mention that if you have any LLM going on, like a large language model going on, and you want to find out that how much money I am spending on that, you can actually do that. The resources, and you can go into details for all of these things. Right. So for every resource, we tell you how much money they are spending, what is their allocation vis-a-vis. Just give me a sec, please.
While you're at this stage, Albert, I'm just going to take over for a second while you're setting. So this would be very important for the CEOs, the CIOs, because traditionally how businesses work is every month or every year, IT goes and does all the reporting, extracts this information, collates it into spreadsheets or whatever formats they need it, and the information gets fed up into board meetings where decisions are made. What we've done is flip the script. CEOs and CIOs can sit in their office, run the dashboard. It's user access based, so Greg can access and see certain information. Albert can see just the OfficeBoard, for example. But now, being a non-technical person, not understanding how to work in Microsoft's administrative portals, you can see the information but have no impact by going into settings or anything like that in your Microsoft environment. Take this information and then ask the difficult question. So where Albert was shortly was you're showing you the consumption and how to optimize. Perfect example is you spin up UAT environments. Those environments are running for a month. The project should be for a month, but we'll see that that server is still running for 3 months. So those decisions is where the senior head of departments have discussions with the technical departments to understand why. And to add to what Albert was mentioning about plugging in this data into other environments, you could have other analytical tools, or you could have manual processes you use. What you use this for is comparative too. So it's adding value to your environment. Albert, I'll hand over to you. Are you good there?
So this is kind of a very important screen where we share all the information related to all the resources. Now, if you see here on the right, so for every virtual machine, we will show that what sort of recommendation you have. Do you have a cost recommendation? Do you have a performance recommendation? Do you have a security, high availability, so on and so forth, right? So this data is available from the advisor recommendation, and we give it for every single resource, right? And I was saying that we also show what is the contribution of this particular resource for your total monthly bill, right? So you can immediately find out that, you have purchased something. I'll give you one example. We had a client that were doing like $300,000 per month, right? And on Azure cost. And 1 month they had like $1.3 million. And we had to check the data like twice, thrice, that is an anomaly. And what we realized was somebody from their team, and of course an enterprise, right? So somebody from their team purchased one item from Microsoft Marketplace for 3 years and paid all upfront. So that was that $1 million. And they did not know this. They only got to know when we told them that there is a problem, there is an anomaly. And then they figured out that, okay, yes, somebody did that. Right. So yes, I think those are the things that you can find out by looking at this data. That do you have, tagging enabled? What is the project? Are there any security vulnerabilities associated with this particular resource? So you can get this information from this data. Okay, very, very helpful.
Albert, just to interrupt one second while you're there.
Yes.
So for the people on the platform to relate to, in cloud environments, we have what we call autoscaling. So when environments spin up a virtual server and they need more resources on that virtual server, the cloud environment will autoscale upwards. Now, that's a perfect world for Microsoft, AWS, all the infrastructure providers, because the more you use, the more you pay. Now, what's important is how do you manage that autoscaling? Because if you autoscale up, you should autoscale back down, if not consume. But once you've autoscaled down, if that virtual server is now no longer needed, it's now redundant, who's monitoring it? So those are the kind of things you won't easily find within Microsoft Azure's tenant. You will find the data, but you have to move around to a lot of screens to understand it as a technical person. Whereas the dashboard shows it to you harshly in your face. These are your red hotspots. You should take action here. And you'll hear Albert talk about those actions when you can send Teams notifications out to people, etc. I'll hand over back to you, Albert.
Yes. And then, of course, you can get this information for resource groups, for resources, for resource types and locations. So we go at a very granular level for every single data point for, cost, for security, for your governance, for everything that you have in your Azure tenant, right? And we can get this trend as well. So we can find out that, look, Albert has created this virtual machine and it has got a lot of issues for the last 3 months. And you can find out that there is a problem either with a person or with a resource, and then you can take an action upon it. Okay. So I'll quickly go to tags and then maybe to advisor recommendation, and then we'll move back to other product, right? So very important stuff for tagging. Again, we do a lot of work here. So we tell you that how many resources are tagged, how many resources are untagged, and we also tell that. So for example, I have a project. So you can say that the resource group owned by Albert, the percentage, of tagged resources is like what, 10%. You can actually tell that, right? So that is information available, a lot of information available. So here, if you see here, so these are the resource groups, and you can say that there are 13 resources, untagged resources are 2, and then what is the cost? And normally these would be like you will have an owner for every resource groups, right? And we do the same thing based on locations, resource types, and resources as well. Okay, so granularity is there. I'll quickly go over the security module. So we fetch a lot of data for security, including the secure score. Azure gives you that secure score. Azure also gives you security recommendation. We find the open network security group for your virtual machines. We do a vulnerability assessment, and very important thing what we do is, so this is like vulnerability assessment for all your hardware, what Greg just mentioned. And we find out that how many vulnerabilities you have and what is the score also in there. What we also do is like we find how many activities fail. So let's say I am an employee and I tried to delete some virtual machine. And of course, my Azure administrator is a smart person, so he did not give me that right. So what will happen is it will log those failed activities here, that Albert tried to delete some virtual machine or some storage account, right? And then you can find out that, if somebody is trying to act in an unprofessional way, you can actually do that. We also fetch data for 5 compliances. There are many more compliances in Azure. So let's say if you need some compliance, you can let us know. We are fairly agile. Most of the time, your change request, they will be handled in like 1 month to 3 months time. So if you say that there is this compliance in Azure, can you put that in PowerBoard? So we should get that done in like 1 month to 3 months time frame. Okay. We fetch all the data for Azure advisor recommendation. This is the first thing that almost everybody would recommend that you should see. So Azure does a very good work of telling that, look, this is wrong, or this is something that you should be doing as per our best practices recommendation. And I think, specifically with respect to cost and security, we should be doing that. Okay. So it tells you all the information that, look, this is where you can save the money. This is where you can improve the secure score. If you are running, some software and it needs to be on the high availability, you can do that as well. Okay.
Sorry, Albert, if you can just expand on the vulnerability, where we were. So this is important at a very high level. Team that's attending is you're looking at it as a helicopter view and taking this information back to your team, back to your IT team to analyze in detail. Why do we have these vulnerabilities? Why are these servers or connections coming through to our network, or these servers running? So it's this analytical information that you are using to question the technical team. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. All right. So yes, we have details for all of these recommendations. So you can download it, and so for example, you can download it and share it with your CISO that, look, can we get the security recommendation down to 0, right? So most of the time as an executive, you would not have this information. And this is what PowerBoard does. It tells you that, look, there is this cost saving available and we should just do it, right? And then when we work with you, we will of course let you know that this is the cost saving and this is how you can get it done. And most of the time it could usually be like, a few days work just to get that done. Right? All the data that you see, it is available on that same page in the Excel format. And then, of course, if you don't want to download it from there, you have all the other reports over here as well. So whatever you saw in all the earlier pages, all of that data is available over here as well. This is multi-tenant, so you can add more tenants. You can add all the subscription as well. So one of the client we had, they had like some 60 subscriptions. So we would show them data for 60 subscriptions, and we would give a consolidated report. Manually, we would prepare and we would give to them. So this is all the data that we fetch from Azure tenant for your subscriptions. Yes, please go
Apologies,
ahead.
Albert. Let's pause there for a second for the team to relate to this. So big enterprise environments or with privately owned companies, they have subsidiary companies, but each work with their own domains. And when we talk about tenants, I'm sure the people in the environment relate to, we've got different environments for each business unit. So you can see it as a consolidated view for all the entities, or each business unit, which is a tenant, can log in and see just their information based on the security rules that we set up. What Albert is displaying to you now is a holistic consolidated view of multiple tenants. And that's what he's relating to from multiple tenants perspective. Thank you, Albert.
All right. Let me now switch to OfficeBoard. So OfficeBoard is a M365 management platform. Similar fundamentals, we look for 3 use cases. One is license management. The second one is cost. And the third one is security. All right. So I'm going to walk you through now. This software is a bit more advanced than PowerBoard in couple of ways. First, it is integrated with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, right? So what we do is we share some data with OpenAI with respect to 2 use cases. One is your license cost saving, and the second one is security. And OpenAI kind of looks at that data and it fetches some information based on our input, and then it gives the information back. Now, we don't share any customer information, any personally identifiable information, nothing like that. So we share only the information that we fetch. For example, okay, so couple of things that I want to show you here with respect to OpenAI integration. So, for example, we find a lot of high severity security alerts for your M365, and we share this data, just the alert that we have found, and it tells you what you need to do to get those alerts sorted, right? Very, very powerful stuff. Now, this is something you do not get, in M365. So what we do behind the scene is we fetch all the alerts that you have, and this happens daily, right? And then we send it to OpenAI and we say that look at Microsoft's documentation and then tell us what we need to do in order to fix this alert, right? So this is the data that you get. Similarly, for savings, what we do, we find, OfficeBoard finds how many users have never logged in, how many users have been inactive for 30 days, and how many users have been disabled. So for example, your IT administrator must have disabled it. Microsoft must have disabled it, if it finds something wrong with the user. And then we send that count along with the licenses they have, right? And what it does, it tells you that based on the currency that you have, how much money you can save. Okay, so it looks at Microsoft's pricing portal, and it tells you that, look, this is the money that you can save. And this data is, of course, updated every day. Very, very powerful feature. So this is a bigger version of what I just showed to you. So here we give you information on the people that we found, right? That people who have never logged in, people who have been inactive, people who have been disabled. And what you can do is this software is integrated with Microsoft Teams. So you can directly go and you can share, in the Microsoft Teams, you can create a channel and you can share this data. So it is natively integrated with that. So I'll give you a use case. Let's say you have got M365 administrator, and you see this data of license savings, right? You can simply download that Excel, or you can actually go right here and you can share it from here itself. So what it will do is it will take all this data in Excel and it will say, it will go to that person right there, or you can put it in a channel as well. Couple of features that I want to show for security. This is an actual data for one of our client, even though it is a demo site. When we showed this data to them, they ordered a security audit for their M365 tenant. And it happens quite often. Once you put this data in, you will see that how many security alerts you have, specifically the high severity security alerts. And you will see all the stuff that Microsoft says is kind of high severity security alert. Somebody forwarding it to a folder, your personal emails going from your professional emails going from your office email address to your personal email address. We can catch those things. Somebody has logged on from an IP and failure from a different IP. I'm going to show you that as well. We have a different module altogether for sign-in details. Right? So we can catch all this data and we can give it to you, and you can then share it with your CISO. Right? Now, this is another powerful feature that we have where we find out who all logged in to your tenant and from where they have logged in, what time they have logged in, what is the application they have used to log in, how many times they have logged in. And we also find data for failed login attempts. Okay. So let's say your company is in South Africa, all the employees are in South Africa, and you are getting a lot of login from United States, India, wherever. So this could be a problem that your IT administrator can kind of resolve, right? They can tighten up the security for that as well. Now imagine if there is a successful sign-in from outside of South Africa, then and imagine if this fellow is a VP, then we have a problem, right? So this kind of analysis you could do with the help of this software. It tells you about unsuccessful sign-in, but it also tells you about successful sign-in from all the countries, right? Now imagine if you are somebody based in South Africa and you have a successful sign-in from all these countries, right? So imagine this is like South Africa. So you would want to see that who are the guys who logged in from all these 4 countries. Right? And like I mentioned, we give you data for, IP address, what is the device they have logged in from, what is the operating system, what is the app that they have used. So all this information is available to you, and we give this data like once every 24 hours. So we give lot of reports, just like we give in PowerBoard. It is just that these reports are much more powerful. It has a lot of data, and it covers everything. So you have data for SharePoint, how many sites you have, how many inactive sites you have, who is the owner with most sites, lot of data, plenty of data. In Entra ID, how many users do you have? How many guest users do you have? How many users with expired password? So this is where the governance goes at another level, right?
Just pause there for 1 second, Albert. Where that would relate to businesses are especially contractors working to
Yes.
big enterprise. If you just want to
Yes.
elaborate on that quickly, thank you.
So yeah, these are the guest users. So we give you information about all the guest users as well. And even if you have like Gmail users or Hotmail users or Yahoo users, we flag them as well. Yeah. There is information about Microsoft Exchange, people where the send is prohibited, who is using what app, who has never logged in, how many you are provisioning every month. We give you all that data. For Teams, who are the administrator, how many Teams channel do you have, how many calls you have made, all the information is available over here. We also have the members top domain. So this is where you can flag all the people with Gmail, right? These would usually be contractors. And you can then find out that who are these contractors, do they have access to any groups or not? Are they admins of any groups or not? So you see here, this is where you have all the information. Who has created the channel? Who is the owner? Is it a public? Is it private? All sort of information you have available. Also, we have data for Intune. So let's say you have Intune in place, so you can manage your devices, all your devices to this software as well. So this is a module that is a work in progress. So we expect that by next 3 months we should have this running. So you can find out how many devices have company ownership, how many are personal, how many are compliant, how many are non-compliant. Right? You can get this data right from here. Yes. So I think that is that from my end, Greg. This is all the information that we show, and I like I mentioned, this is integrated with Microsoft Teams as well. So you can give data to Microsoft Teams as well directly from this program.
Perfect. Thank you, Albert. In conclusion, with regard to the solution and how it would work, it's as simple as PopRush will send a request document through to you as a client. You follow a few steps. You allow the application to connect to your tenant. Within your tenant, your IT person would point to our URL that we would provide. And that's how the APIs talk to each other to extract the data. When Albert is referring to data, we are not physically going into your tenant environment. We are purely extracting it, and it's sitting on our cloud. That data is then being rendered to you in the user interface that you see. So I'm just going to take a minute, Albert, just to articulate the functional parts of what we've covered in today. So everyone that's joined, the solution is a user-friendly analytical tool that allows this slicing and dicing of your Microsoft data to see how you are optimizing it and how are you utilizing it. That is the key behind the whole solution. And like I said, when I started the session, Microsoft do provide this information in their Azure environment or their tenant environment, but it's not as easy to visually see it. And the reason Microsoft or any of the environments would do that is it's more designed for administrative IT technical people who navigate around different places to find information.